Hey guys, and welcome back to the Syrup Review. I'm Karen, and today I've got my January reading wrap up for you. Before I get into this, I just want to take the opportunity and say thank you to everyone out there. My booktube channel is still very new, and yet I've got like almost 50 subscribers, I think, which is so nice, and I've had so many people supporting me and commenting on my videos. So thanks a lot to all of you guys. It's awesome to be a part of this community. Okay, now without any further ado, let's get into the books I read in January. Now, in fact, I've only finished 3 books this month, and I've got one more which I'm currently reading. I'm gonna be talking about that one as well, because otherwise the video is gonna be finished after like 3 minutes. Okay, let's get into it. The book I rated the lowest this month was The Humans by Haig. Now, I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars, which isn't like a bad book at all. I liked it, it was nice. It just wasn't a favorite, or isn't going to be a new favorite. But it was still a good and very entertaining read. Now, if you don't notice, it's kind of a science fiction story, but not really. It's about some unidentified alien creature coming on Earth and taking the body of a math professor named Andrew Martin. The reason why the alien does this is because the humans, or this particular human, Andrew Martin, who, as I said, is a mathematician, he discovered some very important little piece of mathematics that no human before him has discovered yet, which is going to revolutionize the way that humans live. Like, this discovery is going to be the end to suffering and to death. And that's why the aliens feel the need to intervene, because they don't think that the humans are capable of handling this discovery. Which is why they kill Andrew Martin and send this other alien down on Earth to take his body and to find out if there's other people that need to be killed, like if Andrew Martin told anyone about his discovery. And that's how this unnamed alien comes to Earth in the shape of Andrew Martin. Then, I'm smiling now because it really, especially like the first half of the book, I enjoyed a lot. It was very funny to have this like foreign look on human life. And when this alien first comes to Earth, he has like the most basic of problems. For example, he doesn't realize he has to wear clothes in order not to be weird, and then he ends up getting arrested by the police because he's just walking around naked. He finds noses of people horrible, and also certain things they do. Like the news, for example, he hates the news and he thinks that they're actually a lie, or they shouldn't be called news, but something like the War and Money show. So this alien, he comes to Earth, and at first he's really critical about our society and about the things we do, but then he grows more and more accustomed as well as attached to the humans around him as well, and that's how he is slowly starting to realize that maybe the humans aren't that bad after all. The reason why this book only received 3 stars from me, even though it was nice and funny, is because I was just hoping for a little more. Like, the premise was very strong, I believe, but I think it could have been further and more deeply developed. For me, it was a little bit too much staying on the surface of things. So for my taste, it could have been a bit deeper and more profound, but nevertheless it was a very enjoyable and entertaining read, and I would recommend it, even though I only gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Next up, eventually I got to finish a Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin, which is the first book in the Song of Ice and Fire series / Game of Thrones series. So as you can see, this book is huge, and it took me forever to read it, because in the beginning I couldn't bring myself to just sit down and read this big chunk of book, so I kept like reading a chapter, then picking up something else, then reading another chapter, and I just couldn't get anywhere. So now at the beginning of the year I decided to just sit down and finish this without putting anything in between, and it was totally worth it, because it took me quite a long time to get into it and to like get to know the characters and understand all of the family relations and stuff. It's so complicated when you have no idea about the series at all. By the way, in case you speak German, I've written an entire blog post about things I would have liked to know before I started reading this, which like would have simplified understanding it in the first place. Because as a complete newbie to Game of Thrones, this is really quite hard. Like the first half of the book, I basically spent trying to remember characters' name, trying to find out who is related to whom, trying to find out who is where and why they're there and what they're doing there. Like, I was just utterly confused for like half of this book. But as soon as I decided to like really sit down and read only this, it totally gripped me. Like, I got into it so much better. And I suddenly started to understand all of the like relations and families and stuff, and I started really enjoying it, and I've given it 4 out of 5 stars in the end. And I'm definitely gonna continue reading the Game of Thrones series. Now, I don't want to talk about this for too long. I might make a more in detail review about all of the Game of Thrones books at some point once I read them. But anyway, let me just say here that, as I said, it took me a while to get into, but after that I was absolutely hooked and I couldn't put it down anymore. It's an epic fantasy about basically 7 kingdoms which all belong to like one realm and which are reigned by the king on the Iron Throne, who at the moment in this book is Robert Baratheon. And as the name suggests, the whole series is basically a game or like a fight for this throne. So there's different families and different people who might want to claim this throne, and this is like the basic premise of this series. And in this first book we mostly follow 3 families, I would say. So we follow the Stark family, who are from the north. They're located in Winterfell, and in the very beginning of the book, the existing hand of the king, who is like his closest and most important servant, gets killed, and Eddard Stark, the father and lord of the Stark family, is called down to King's Landing to be his new hand. That's where the story takes off. So the Starks, or like half of the Stark family, move down to King's Landing so that Eddard can be the new hand of the king. But then there's a lot of like intrigue and stuff going on, especially concerning the Lannister family. Now, the King Robert Baratheon is married to Cersei Lannister, who isn't the most loyal of queens. I'm not going to say more than that, but there's some intrigue like around Cersei and her family. And we also follow some of her brothers who are like out and about fighting here and there. And we follow a 3rd family, and that's the Targaryens. Now, what I didn't realize forever is that the Targaryens are not actually within the 7 kingdoms. They're somewhere in exile, and I really didn't get that. And I was like, why do we even follow their story? I don't get it. Why is it important? But then in the end, it all comes together and it makes sense, because they're somehow connected to this Iron Throne as well. Not going to say anything else because I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but these are basically the 3 families that we follow in this book. And as the name already reveals, it's all about the throne. What made me enjoy this book a lot was the different perspectives we get. We get perspectives from like, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 different people from different families, which is really interesting because, at least me, for a very long time, and actually still now, I'm not quite sure which people and which families are the good ones and which aren't exactly. It's kind of hard to figure out who you should root for, which I think is very interesting. Like, you don't get this very basic good character, bad character kind of scheme. Instead, you get like a bunch of very interesting characters who are all very like multi-dimensional, and you don't really know what to think of them for quite a while, and that I think makes for a very, very, very interesting and great book with a lot of cliffhangers in it as well. And it's absolutely worth reading, and I'm going to continue the series soon. Another one of my reads this month was the Haiti Gift by Angie Thomas, which I finally read after probably the whole world has read it except for me. So here we go. I got this book as a Christmas gift, and I just couldn't hold back from picking it up right after Christmas, and it was absolutely worth it. It was very enjoyable read. I'm in fact going to make a detailed review just about this book, which is why I won't really talk about it here. Here I'm just gonna say that I give this book 4 out of 5 stars. It was very good and totally worth the hype in my opinion. But for details, just check my in-detail review of this, which is going to be up soon. And just to round things off, as I said, I've got one book which I'm currently reading, which is Angela's Ashes by McCourt. This one I've been wanting to read forever, and I don't know, I'm about halfway in, and for some reason I don't really make much progress in this one. I don't know why. The topic is rather depressing, like it's a memoir of McCourt himself and his childhood in poverty-stricken Catholic Ireland, where he grew up like with famine and violence. Lots of his siblings died, and he just really didn't have a very nice childhood. Maybe it's the topic, it's somewhat really depressing to read, so maybe that's why I'm not flying through it as much as I would like to. But even though it is rather depressing, it's also a hopeful kind of book. Like it's told from Frank's perspective as a child, and that's why it's told in a very cute way, which makes you connect with the characters a lot and like really feel what they're feeling, because it's actually a memoir and actually told by the person who is in this book. And I really like that about memoirs, that you get this like first-hand account of how things really were. Anyway, I can't say much more than that for now, because I still have about half the book to read. So far I'm enjoying it, even though it is a bit depressing and takes a while. But it's a very interesting and important read at the moment. There we go. These were all the books I've had to talk about for my January wrap-up, and I'll see you again soon in my next video. Thanks for tuning in. Bye!